And even if my arrows finish, I will fight you with my sword until it's broken or I die. But if you want, I can make a deal with you. And the deal is I can tell you how much money I have and where I've put it. You can take it. And I have a number of maid servants. Bandiyan bhi hain, gulam bhi hain, sare le lo, mera makan bhi le lo. Take everything, let me go free. Sab kuch unke hawale kar diya. And he gave them the whereabouts of his wealth hidden. And he went to Medina to Munawwara. And he reached there safely. When he reached Medina safely, the Prophet was in Quba. Those who've been to Hajj or Umrah, the Prophet used to go to Quba. Quba was in those times, just outside Medina. Medina used to be like a village in the time of Rasulullah. Now it's Quba is just about half an hour's walk from Masjid Nabawi. Every Saturday the Prophet used to go to Quba to visit the people there. So the Prophet at the time was still in Quba. When he reached there, when Suhaib Rumi reached there, the Prophet was sitting with his companions. There used to be orchards. Ab bhi baghat hain, wahan Masjid Quba ke kareeb khujuron ke darakht hain. There were trees, palm trees, date trees. The Prophet was sitting with the companions enjoying some dates. And Hazrat Suhaib came and he joined Rasulullah. And as soon as Suhaib came and he joined Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, one of his eyes was sore. So the Prophet made him sit next to him. Safar se aaye the na. He had just come down through the desert, long journey. And the Prophet welcomed him and entertained him. And he sat next to him and they started eating the dates. And the Prophet ﷺ was eating the dates and putting the seed not in front of him but in front of Suhaib. And Hazrat Suhaib's eye was sore. The Prophet said, "What's the matter, Suhaib? Your eye is sore and you're eating dates?" He said, "Ya Rasulullah, I'm eating from the other side." But he said, "Ya Rasulullah, well, I'm eating from the other side, but it appears you are eating dates with the seeds." "Ya Rasulullah, aap khajur kha rahe hain aur gutliyan bhi saath kha rahe hain." He cracked the joke with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And while this, Jibreel came down. Jibreel came down with the verses of Quran. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْرِي نَفْسَهُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ وَاللَّهُ رَءُوفٌ بِالْعِبَادِ. Suhaib had lost everything, all his wealth that he'd ever saved through his business, everything he gave them, and he managed to escape empty-handed. He did a deal for his iman, he gave them everything. And when he reached Medina, the Prophet said, "Suhaib, you've got a bargain. You've done a good deal, rabihta. You've done a wonderful deal. You've lost all your dunya, but you've saved your iman." And Allah was so happy, Allah revealed verses in the Quran. وَمِنَ النَّاسِ مَنْ يَشْرِي نَفْسَهُ بِتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ. भी ऐसे भी लोग हैं जो अपने सारा माल देकर अपना ईमान अल्लाह के लिए बचाने के लिए तैयार हैं. Allah was so pleased. I was saying Allah used to send Quran at their approval. What they used to do, Allah would send Quran expressing His pleasure at the companions of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the beloved Prophet of Allah, Hazur ne ek muqaddas jamaat tayar ki thi. He left those Sahaba behind. He prepared a jamaat who then took the deen of Rasulullah far and wide. He said, "Wow, we are Ahlul Sunnah wal Jamaat." Sirf Ahl Sunnat nahi, Ahl Sunnat wal Jamaat. And if we follow the teachings of Rasulullah in practice, as was observed and followed and practiced by the companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in this month, the Prophet was born. In this month, he made hijrah from Makkah to Medina. And in this month, eventually, when after 10 years almost in Makkah, Medina to Munawwara, in Makkah the Prophet lived 14 years preaching, became difficult. The Makkans made a plan. They wanted to kill Rasulullah. They did a siege. Allah saved His beloved Prophet. He came and settled in Medina. There were many battles, Badr, Uhud, Khandaq, Fath Makkah, Hunayn, Tabuk. And then finally, at the end of the 10th year, the Prophet made Hajj. When he was in Makkah, he made many Hajj, but from Medina, he made only one Hajj. And when that Hajj was on that Hajj, all the people who accepted Islam, they all came to perform Hajj with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Allah revealed the verses, "Al-yawma akmaltu lakum deenakum wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-Islam deena." And then the Prophet returned to Medina. And that was the end of Zul-Hajj, 10th year. Muharram started, then Safar set in. End of Safar, Rasulullah fell in. Initially a temperature, bukhar, like a headache temperature, and then it started getting worse. And one day, it was a Monday, and the Prophet came to visit Aisha, and she complained. She wasn't well as well. She had a headache as well, and she complained to the Prophet of her headache. The Prophet said, "I've also got a headache." And then the Prophet said, "Oh Aisha, Won't you be lucky if you were to die in my presence? In other words, if your illness got worse and you died, you've got nothing to worry about. I'll prepare your funeral and I will pray for you, lower you personally in your grave, and then pray for your forgiveness. Would you like that? That'd be better for you. And Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anha, she had a special relationship with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. जहाँ मोहब्बत होती है, नाज नख्ता भी कुछ हो जाता है वहाँ. And she said, Ya Rasulullah, well, if I die in your presence, oh, that is fine, but you just bring another woman to sleep in my room. The Prophet had many wives, but the Prophet was only hinting, oh, Aisha, don't worry, you will go first. And the Prophet only lived for one more week after that, and then his illness got worse, his fever got worse, he became very weak. He had 9 wives at the time. He would visit each of them one day. When he felt that he couldn't travel around anymore in the last month, and then he sought permission from the other wives, if you allow me, I can't travel anymore. I would like to rest in the house of Aisha. And even the other wives were aware the Prophet loves her more and gave him more happiness. He will feel more comfortable with Aisha than he would with the others. And Allahu Akbar. And so they all agreed, and the Prophet's illness became worse. Then the next Thursday which came, the Prophet ﷺ asked people to bring drums or buckets from 7 different wells from Medina. And then he mixed the water and he had a bath in that water from 7 different wells. He felt slightly better. He came to pray the Dhuhr Salat in the masjid, and he addressed the people, and he hinted that perhaps he might be leaving this world very shortly. And he asked people to settle, settle your affairs with me. I want to leave this world that I don't owe anybody anything. Many people take it so lightly, especially loans. कर्ज जो है, इतनी बड़ी वबा है, इतना बड़ा वबाल है. When the Prophet used to lead people in janaza की नमाज वही पढ़ाते हैं, the Prophet would ask, does he owe anybody money? If he owed money, then he would say, has he left arrangements to settle his debt? If they would say, yes, he has, and the Prophet would pray his janazah, otherwise, as we कहते हैं, otherwise he would say to the companions, you pay his janazah, the janazah of your brother. Later on, when Allah gave his beloved Prophet prosperity, if a janazah was presented, he would still ask, does he owe anybody money? If he didn't, okay, if he owed anybody money, then the Prophet would say, has he left arrangements to settle his debt? And if he hadn't left arrangements to settle his debt, the Prophet said, I am responsible for his debt. And then he would pray the janazah on that person. So even for the shaheed or the mahir, Allah forgives everything except the debt that he owes other people. A person, if he borrowed money, but he should strive very hard and sincerely to pay his debt. If he tries his best, and by best it means you cut down your expenses, and you behave and live as though you're trying to pay it off. ये नहीं कि मैं कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, he's increasing his extravagance, याशी बढ़ती जा रही है, फजूल खर्ची बढ़ती जा रही है, पता ही नहीं कि देना नहीं है. Many people take loans with no intention of ever paying back, even from banks or whoever. That is absolutely haram. But if a person tries his best to pay his debt, he borrowed money for a genuine reason, for whatever reason that now he realizes he's trying to pay back, but he can't, and he dies, then it is hopeful, inshallah, Allah will pay on his behalf on the day of Qiyamah. But a person needs to try to settle his debt. And then in the Quran, when it comes to Allah himself, people ask Rasulullah, who is your God? Allah sent down a surah, only 2 lines. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدُ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. But the biggest ayat, not the biggest surah, biggest ayat in the Quran is regarding loan and debt. In 3rd Sipara near the end of Surah Baqarah, the whole ayat is referred to as ayatul dayn. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu idha tadayantum bidainin. O Muslims, when you take some loans, faktubu, write it down, have witnesses, so that tomorrow let shaitan not get the better of you. Look at it, क्या बकवास कर रहे, मैंने क्या लिया, कुछ भी नहीं लिया, खामखा. People then become arrogant and they deny. That is very, very serious stuff. And people should wear it where they can manage without, to the last drop they should try. When absolutely must for genuine need, then no problem, but with the intention to pay back. So Rasulullah, he tried to settle his affairs. He said, if I owe anybody anything, come and settle it with me now. That was Thursday. Maghrib Salat was the last Salat which Rasulullah prayed himself. After Isha, he was resting in the Hujra of Aisha radiallahu anha, was unable to come back, even while being supported by 2 Sahaba. Then he asked Abu Bakr to the people, Abu Bakr, people tell Abu Bakr to lead you in Salat. Namaz, Imamat was one thing as long as Rasulullah remained. He sent other people as Amirs, and when he was absent, he appointed someone as Imam. लेकिन हजूर ने एक भी नमाज ऐसी नहीं पढ़ी कि हजूर खुद मौजूद हों, सेहतमंद हों और किसी और को इमाम मुकर्रर किया. This was the first time in the Prophet's life he felt seriously ill, and in his own presence he appointed an imam, and that was Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. 17 prayers he led the people in namaz. And the Prophet in one hadith said, the man with the most knowledge should be your imam. With the most taqwa should be your imam. The man who knows the Quran most should be imam. जब हजूर ने अबू बकर रज़ियल्लाहु ताला अन्हु को इमाम मुकर्रर किया तो क्या पता चलता है कि हजूर की निगाह में सबसे बड़े आलिम कौन थे? अबू बकर. सबसे बड़े हाफिज कौन थे? सबसे बड़े मुत्तकी कौन थे? अबू बकर रज़ियल्लाहु ताला अन्हु. And then there was Allahu Akbar, 17 prayers. Thursday Isha, all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. Monday morning, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu led the people in Fajr, and then after, soon as he finished his namaz, he went straight to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to see Rasulullah how he was, and he felt to be recovering better. And this happens when people become ill shortly before they die. They appear to be recovering, then suddenly, then something else happens and they die. Happened same to Rasulullah. He was very ill. Monday morning, the day he was to leave this world, he appeared to be getting better. Sahaba became relieved, as Abu Bakr had another wife outside Medina, Awali. He went to visit her with the Prophet's permission. But as soon as he went there, mid-morning, 10, 11, 12, about 11 o'clock, 10, 11 o'clock, all of a sudden, the Prophet's health deteriorated further immensely. And he was in his Aisha radiallahu anha's lap, Allahu Akbar, and with his noble head in the lap of Hazrat Aisha, on her, and resting on her chest, Allahu Akbar. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked up and he said, Allahumma rafiq al-a'la. Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anha says, she had heard from the Prophet, he had said, Allah doesn't allow a Prophet to die until he's shown his place in Jannah. So it appears when Rasulullah, when he saw and he was happy when he was going, and he said, Allahumma rafiq al-a'la, that was the time that his eyes shut and his hand just let go, as it were. And she realized that the beloved Prophet of Allah has left them. And the news spread. You can imagine how it spread like wildfire. Everybody was so shocked. Ali couldn't talk, as Usman couldn't talk, as Ali